The sound of her footsteps echoed through the dark alley, sharp and fearless, cutting through Jay Hyun's attention like a knife he hadn't expected. He had been watching from the shadows, waiting, analyzing, yet nothing could have prepared him for her, Aria, stepping in where no one else dared. She was unarmed, but her presence alone commanded authority, a kind of courage he rarely saw. The low hum of the city, the distant sirens, the scattered neon lights, they all faded around her. He couldn't look away. His chest tightened, a pulse of heat he hadn't anticipated. Aria was a storm wrapped in calm, a paradox that both unnerved and enthralled him. A thug lunged toward a young woman pinned against a brick wall. Jay Hyun's hand twitched instinctively toward his gun, but before he could move, Aria intervened. With nothing but raw instinct and courage, she stepped in between them. "Back off," she said firmly, her voice steady, unwavering. The thug hesitated, confused by her audacity, and that hesitation was all it took. He cursed and bolted, disappearing into the darkness. Aria stood her ground, chest rising and falling as she caught her breath. Jay Hyun finally stepped out of the shadows, silent and imposing, his presence immediately commanding attention. Aria didn't flinch. Most people would have, but she was different. He studied her closely, noting the determination in her eyes, the way she carried herself with a quiet strength that made him feel simultaneously protective and powerless. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice low, controlled, but laced with an intensity that made the air between them tense. Aria nodded, brushing a stray curl from her face. "I'm fine," she replied, though her chest still rose and fell rapidly from the adrenaline. "Thanks for not intervening too soon," she added, glancing at him. "I didn't need anyone saving me. Not yet." Jay Hyun's jaw tightened imperceptibly. "And if you hadn't been able to handle it?" His voice was softer now, almost questioning, but there was a quiet steel beneath it. Aria met his gaze without hesitation. "Then maybe I would have called someone," she said, a hint of a smirk tugging at her lips. "But I'm capable. Don't assume otherwise." He blinked, slightly thrown off by her audacity. Most people in his line of sight would be terrified, begging for mercy. Not her. "You're different," he admitted, his voice a low murmur, almost to himself. "And you're watching me like I'm a puzzle," she countered, raising an eyebrow. "Do I get to know why?" Jay Hyun's gaze darkened, a shadow of a smile crossing his lips. "Maybe later," he said, his tone clipped but oddly magnetic. He didn't explain, and Aria didn't press. There was a tension between them, unspoken but undeniable, thick enough to cut through the night air. Hours later, after ensuring the alley was empty, Jay Hyun led Aria to a sleek black car. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he said. "It's dangerous." "I can handle myself," she replied, climbing into the passenger seat. Her calm defiance intrigued him, stirred something in him he hadn't felt in years. Most people either feared him or were drawn to him blindly. Aria was neither. She was intelligent, perceptive, unflinching. That combination both frustrated and fascinated him. The drive was quiet, but the tension between them was palpable. Jay Hyun's eyes flicked to her now and then, noticing the subtle movements, the way her hands gripped the edge of her bag, the way her jaw set in determination even in the face of danger. He wanted to say something, anything, but the words caught in his throat. He wasn't used to letting anyone see him like this, exposed, intrigued, off balance. Aria finally broke the silence. "Why do you care?" she asked, her voice soft but direct. "You didn't have to come." Jay Hyun's hand tightened around the steering wheel. "Because I couldn't let anything happen to you," he said. His tone was steady, but there was a rare vulnerability beneath it. He didn't explain why. He didn't need to. Aria understood, in a way that surprised him. She didn't look at him with fear, with expectation, or with awe. She looked at him with understanding, and that alone unsettled him. When they reached a safe location, a penthouse he owned but rarely used, he stepped aside, allowing her to enter first. The space was vast, sleek, and impeccably clean, yet at that moment, none of it mattered. All he could think about was her. The way she had faced danger without hesitation, the way she had commanded attention without trying, the way she had stirred a mix of admiration, possessiveness, and something else he couldn't yet name inside him. Hannah, no Aria, looked around, impressed but cautious. "This is nice," she said, but her eyes were wary. "I don't usually accept help." "You don't have to," he said, stepping closer, his gaze intense. "I just want to make sure you're safe." Her lips parted slightly, as if she wanted to say more, but the words didn't come. Instead, she nodded, allowing him the small concession. That small nod ignited something in him, a dangerous mix of relief and something far deeper. For the next few hours, they talked quietly. He didn't ask too many questions, and she didn't offer too much. But the conversation was loaded with subtle tension, each word, each glance carrying unspoken meaning. Jay Hyun was fascinated by her courage, her wit, her fearlessness, and she was intrigued by the quiet intensity, the unspoken strength, and the dangerous allure of the man sitting across from her. At one point, she laughed softly, a sound that cut through the tension like sunlight through clouds. Jay Hyun froze, his chest tightening. That laughter, it was disarming. And suddenly he realized something that scared him almost as much as it enthralled him. He couldn't forget it. He couldn't forget her. "Why are you staring at me like that?" Aria asked suddenly, breaking him from his thoughts. Jay Hyun blinked, shaking off the sudden intensity of his own emotions. "I'm not," he said, though his tone betrayed him. "You are," she said, smirking knowingly. "I can see it in your eyes. You can't pretend with me." He leaned back slightly, exhaling slowly. "Maybe I don't want to pretend," he admitted, voice low. Aria's eyes widened slightly, and her heart raced. She had expected danger, intensity, perhaps even arrogance, but this was different. Raw, unfiltered, impossible to ignore. The night grew deeper, the city outside quiet but alive with distant sounds. Jay Hyun's attention never left her. He felt an unfamiliar pull, an irrepressible need to ensure she was safe, to keep her close, to claim a small space in her life without overstepping. It was new. It was terrifying. And it was intoxicating. At one point, Aria finally spoke, breaking the charged silence. "Why did you come after me? After what happened?" Jay Hyun's gaze sharpened. "Because no one else did," he said simply. His words hung in the air like a promise. "And because I can't forget this." Aria's breath caught. That statement, so simple yet so heavy, resonated deep within her. She understood now. She understood the intensity, the danger, the unspoken connection between them. And she knew, without a doubt, that this was far from over. As dawn approached, the tension between them softened into a quiet intimacy. Jay Hyun remained close, protective, yet careful not to overwhelm. Aria, though exhausted, felt a strange sense of safety she had never known with anyone else. The night had changed everything. Her perception of danger, of trust, and of the enigmatic man sitting beside her. Before the first light fully broke over the city skyline, Jay Hyun finally spoke, his voice low and deliberate. "Aria, stay safe. Stay close. And remember, I can't forget this night. I can't forget you." Aria smiled faintly, her heart pounding. "I won't," she whispered. For viewers who want more heart-stopping stories, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment to join the next thrilling chapter of Aria and Jay Hyun's story. Every click, every share, helps us bring more stories like this to life. The city lights reflected off the sleek windows of Jay Hyun's penthouse, casting long shadows across the polished floors. Aria stood near the balcony, her arms crossed, still catching her breath from the night's events. Jay Hyun watched her silently, leaning against the doorway, his hands tucked casually into his pockets, though his gaze betrayed an intensity she couldn't ignore. "You're quiet," Aria said softly, glancing at him. "Usually, people say something." Jay Hyun's lips curved slightly, almost a smirk. "And miss watching you figure things out on your own?" He stepped closer, his shadow falling across her. "I like seeing who you are when no one's pushing you, when no one's trying to manipulate you." Aria's chest tightened. Most people in his world were manipulative, opportunistic, or terrified of him. She wasn't either, and that fascinated him. He took another step forward, the faintest click of his polished shoes on the floor marking each deliberate movement. "I don't need protection," she said quietly, almost a whisper. "I handle myself." "I know," Jay Hyun replied, voice low, almost reverent. "But tonight wasn't just about that. It was about—" He paused, searching her face. "Making sure no one hurts you. Ever." Her eyes softened, and for a moment, a fragile silence enveloped them. The tension from earlier, the danger, the adrenaline, the near confrontation, hadn't left entirely. It lingered, like a faint electric charge in the air between them. Jay Hyun stepped closer, so close that the warmth from his body brushed hers. "Aria," he said, his voice barely more than a murmur, "do you understand what you just did tonight?" I stopped someone from hurting another person," she replied, unsure why he was staring at her with such intensity. "No," he said, shaking his head slightly. "You did more than that. You reminded me of something I've been trying to ignore, that I feel more than I should." Aria's heart skipped a beat. She knew this was not the usual arrogance she was used to from powerful men. This was something different, something real. She looked at him, searching for the right words, but found none. Instead, she stepped slightly closer. "Feel what?" she asked softly. Jay Hyun's eyes darkened, shadows playing across his features. "Feel like I can't stop caring. Feel like I want to protect you, and keep you close, and never let you go." His hands hovered near hers, almost trembling. "Do you understand?" Aria swallowed hard, her pulse quickening. "Yes," she whispered. "I understand." The distance between them closed almost imperceptibly, and Jay Hyun's hand brushed hers gently. Not a touch of ownership, but a tentative connection, testing boundaries. Her breath caught at the contact, a mixture of fear, excitement, and something dangerously thrilling. "I've spent years keeping people at arm's length," he confessed, voice low and raw. "But you're different. I can't pretend around you. I can't hide what I feel." Aria's lips curved into a small, reassuring smile. "Then don't hide it," she murmured. The simplicity of her words struck him. He moved closer, and without another word, he wrapped his arms around her in a protective, possessive embrace. She felt the tension in his muscles, the quiet intensity, the sheer force of will that both comforted and terrified her. "I've never felt this way before," he admitted, pressing his forehead to hers. "Never like this, never so unguarded." Aria's heart pounded. She had been careful all her life, wary of those who wielded power and intimidation. But with Jay Hyun, something was different. She could feel the honesty, the vulnerability beneath the layers of control and danger. "I'm not afraid," she whispered. He exhaled, a small, almost imperceptible sigh of relief. "You shouldn't be. Not with me." For hours, they remained in that fragile intimacy, talking quietly, sharing small truths, laughter, and confessions. Each moment drew them closer, building trust and connection. Jay Hyun's usual stoicism softened, replaced by raw honesty, while Aria's calm courage grounded him. The tension of earlier danger slowly transformed into something electric, something neither could deny. Then, a sudden sound shattered the fragile calm, a knock at the door, sharp and insistent. Jay Hyun stiffened, his protective instincts instantly snapping into place. "Stay here," he said quietly. "Don't move." Aria's heart raced, but she obeyed, stepping behind the couch as he moved toward the door with deadly precision. One glance told him the threat wasn't immediate, but his awareness remained razor-sharp. When he opened the door, a messenger stood, nervously holding a package. Jay Hyun's gaze softened slightly, and after ensuring it was harmless, he closed the door. Aria exhaled, tension draining slightly, and he turned to her. "You see," he said, a small, almost imperceptible smile playing on his lips. "Danger follows us. But tonight was different. You faced it head-on. And his voice dropped husky, almost broken, "I can't forget this. I can't forget you." Her chest tightened, and a smile curved her lips. "Then remember," she whispered, stepping closer, "and maybe let me stay by your side." Jay Hyun's eyes darkened, intense and focused. "You're mine, Aria," he said, softly but with undeniable certainty. "Not in a possessive way, but in a way that means I will never forget you. Never let you go." The night stretched on, their whispered confessions mingling with soft laughter, the city outside fading into insignificance. Jay Hyun kept her close, protective, fiercely attentive, while Aria found herself drawn to his vulnerability, discovering a side of him few ever saw. As the first rays of dawn painted the sky, Aria rested against him, feeling the weight of the night, the danger, the exhilaration, and the growing bond that had formed between them. "Stay," Jay Hyun whispered, his voice low and full of longing. "I will," she replied, voice steady, heart racing. For viewers who want more thrilling, heart-pounding romance and action, subscribe, comment, and like to stay up to date on every chapter of Aria and Jay Hyun's story. Your support helps bring more exciting, captivating stories like this to life. The night had ended, but for Jay Hyun and Aria, it was only the beginning. Dangerous, intense, and undeniably magnetic. Together, they were unstoppable.